Hello, how are you doing? Okay, we're just going to sit here. We're going to wait for Grace. I'm going to see. No, you rock. Let's see. How are you doing? We're going to bring on Grace Spellman in a second, who is a music nerd to the max, which is why we're going to talk. We're going to talk music nerddom, and all of that stuff. How's everyone doing today? Everyone all right? What my favorite picks are? Let's see. Joshing everyone. Sorry, Josh, got to have Grace ask me to join. Not have I had margaritas today? Oh, hey, Justine. Is joshing everyone is sending me twice. Joshing everyone, that is not you, is it, Grace? Have I had margaritas? No, I haven't had any margaritas yet today. It's still only 3 o'clock, but I guess in this time, it doesn't really matter. Okay. Wait, no. Hey, Joyce, are you doing the Josh thing? Is that you, Grace? Joshing everyone? Is that you? There we go. There we go. Connecting. Got it.
Wow.
We did it. We did it. It works.
That was
I feel like every one of these things always starts that way. You know, with
I usually know what I'm doing, but I was like, I'm sending it.
I never know what I'm doing, so don't worry about it.
Okay.
It's all good. All right, so you're in Massachusetts right now?
Yes, I am. My mom just came in 2 seconds ago and was like, he's live, he's asking for you.
Is she going to be a special guest?
No, she was like, where should I be? What room should I be in? And I was like, it doesn't matter.
She should just stand uncomfortably behind you the whole time.
And pose. Yeah.
Yes, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I'm in Massachusetts right now. I was here a little bit before the quarantine, and then the quarantine happened, and so now I'm here with my 2 cats. So
you were canvassing all over the place. Is that why you were there? Yes, because you were working hard on the elections. I mean, that's amazing.
I was working hard on the elections. I was responding to. I mean, I was just like canvassing around Massachusetts while I was here.
It takes time and energy. That's work. That's work. You know, and truthfully, most people don't take the time to do that. So that's awesome that you did.
Yeah, so. The campaign went the way that it went, but I knocked on doors for a cause that I believed in, and I feel good about that, and I'm excited for, it got me into canvassing. I'd never done it before, and now I feel much more comfortable. I've done a lot of scary things before, performed and done crazy things, but I would say that, going to people's doors and knocking and being like, will you vote for Bernie Sanders, was like a really scary thing.
Did you have any weird experiences?
One daughter invited me into her house, and then the mom was on the couch and was like, get out of my house. And
really?
The daughter was just like, sorry, but that was it. Everyone else was pretty nice, or they were just like, the only really weird experiences I had were people being like, I'll never vote for Bernie, and then slamming the door in my face, but whatever. I mean, I didn't get murdered, so I call it a success.
That is a success.
Yes.
So I noticed that you comment on such a wide range of music that is so insane, the depth of the stuff that you talk about. And I was just fascinated by all of it. I'm just like, and then to top it all off, you did that video from The Music Man, and that was insane. That was insane, and one of the greatest things I've ever seen. So what's the Meredith Wilson? How much do you know about him, and what tell me?
Oh, well, first of all, I thought it was very nice that was the way that you introduced your followers to me, was through that video. I think that's like a great encapsulation of who I am as a person. But I think, and I feel like a lot of people for The Music Man, I mean, it was just about like musicals my family had grown up playing, grandpa loved the Music Man, and so my mom played it, showed it to us when we were younger. And then, you know, growing up and listening to more music, you kind of get an appreciation. And listening to more show tunes, the more you listen to, the more you think, okay, wow, like, you know, these guys talking in a train, I've never heard that in any other musical. Like, there must be something special about that. And then I, you know, read his books, obviously. And
I was going to ask you about that. Have you read those books? They're amazing, aren't they?
They're amazing, but the thing I love is that, like, he clearly had no ghostwriter or anything, and so it's written like, so you see, like, Marge and I were going down to the Imperial Theater, and we get there, and you know how it is when there's 3 guys at the theater.
Yes.
And it's like, it was a little hard to read, but like, it was just like written in such like a funny voice and such like a Meredith Willson of that time voice that I just loved it.
Now, did you know, which I did not know this, I mean, I knew a lot about the guy, but I didn't realize he had his own radio show for a while.
He did.
Yeah, and I just was looking at this, and it was called I want to say it's called Meredith Willson Music Hour or something like that, which is amazing because I listen to tons of old radio dramas. Like, that's when I'm listening to something, usually it's not music, it's usually something like that, because music is such a huge part of everything I have to do that I tend to want to like listen to something different. And I end up listening to like old radio dramas and old radio shows and all of that stuff. I listen to a lot of that.
So you must be podcasts. You must be big into podcasts, are you?
I do like podcasts, but I tend to kind of want to go into the past, and I want to hear old stuff, old recordings, old radio dramas, old stuff that, and nowadays so many podcasts are talking about so many things that are just going on right now around me, and I feel like can't even deal with it. No. So as it is.
So you listen to these dramas.
Yes. And a lot of times they have music, you'll catch things like music by Bernard Herrmann or things, Jerry Goldsmith. They used to work in, all those guys worked in radio back in the day. So it's just amazing to see that progress. But when you're looking at somebody like Meredith Willson, that guy, he like worked with everyone. George Burns and Gracie Allen. I'm just looking at this, if you just go to his Wikipedia page. But the reason I bring it up is because there was an old radio show called Fibber McGee and Molly, which was, it's kind of silly but it's great. But I guess one season he replaced them with his show. Meredith Willson's Music was called. And it was a summer replacement.
Bernard Herrmann did radio.
Yeah, he did. They all started out there, all of them started out in radio and then moved into movies and then eventually went into television, a lot of them. Because Bernard Herrmann did tons of Twilight Zones and right. All kinds of things, and a lot of the Ray Harryhausen movies.
Really?
Yes. So, wow. Which were some of the best soundtracks ever. So, okay, what do you want to know? Let's get into it.
I guess because you had brought up the Music Man and you were mostly like a screen guy. Like, I'm always so interested in what people's families played around the house growing up, and I attribute some of my loving of all genres to my family loving and being musicians and playing a bunch of music. Did you listen, do you like any other musicals? It was
the same. I grew up in a family that played all kinds of music, but show tunes were a big part of it. There were always, because my sister was huge into theater growing up, still is, and so there were always show tune soundtracks, albums, records around the house. So I loved all of it. And I raised my kids on all of it too. My Fair Lady, Music Man, all of these things.
You're a good
yeah.
Dad.
So I was raised on that. It was just played all the time. And I loved the thing about them. They're almost all of those classic musicals. Like, they have perfect songs in them, perfect melodies, perfect chord progressions, perfect. And they're unforgettable. You can't forget most of them. You just can't. And how many musicals do you see today that you can remember every single, you can't, so many of them nowadays, all the songs sound sort of the same.
Yeah. And another thing is that I also feel like back then popular artists, I mean, obviously the Beatles, Till There Was You, but like songs for musicals were covered a lot more.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I feel like
you bring up Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney loved musicals. Like, he loved, and still does, absolutely. I got to work with him on a couple of things, and just sitting down and talking with him about his the way he was raised and he was growing up, he talks about Meredith Willson. He talks about My Fair Lady, all of these things. Like, he loves that stuff. You know, I mean, he just, and you can tell by his writing. You can tell it's so theatrical and storytelling in a way.
It really, I mean, yeah, there's my favorite thing to describe Paul songs is the way that John called them like grandma songs or like
yes.
grandma.
Yes, exactly. Which I love that. I think
and
is,
that's why he's my favorite Beatle, is because he's got like those sort of so stagey things. And I think he's working on a Christmas, like, you know, the story, A Christmas Story. He was supposed to be attached to that, writing that, but he did film. Oh no, that was George Martin. Did Paul do film scores, or was that George Martin that just did it?
George did it, and I think, I mean, we can look it up. The thing for Yellow Submarine, that wasn't even them. Yeah, hold on, I should know this. And no, not the YouTube thing. Let's see. Film score. Oh God, here we go. Oh yeah, George Martin. There you go. Jesus. I mean, that guy was a genius. That guy was unbelievable. And you know, that's why they call him the fifth Beatle, because he was the guy, you know, really, he truly was a part of that band and created textures and soundscapes for them that I don't know that they ever would have come to. You know, I asked him about that, and he talks about, I asked Paul about this too, and he was talking about, he remembers, you know, just watching George just writing out these scores for the things, you know, right before they would be recording things. He'd be there, you know, handwriting out all of this stuff and going, taking what they had done and adding. When you hear the strings in I Am the Walrus, you know, that whole, like, the strings, oh my God, it's like that kind of stuff. And I totally ripped it off for Doctor Strange. I totally stole it all and used it in Doctor Strange because I was so like in love with it, and it's so good. But the voicings, everything about it is just stellar. And his son is quite talented too, Giles Martin. Giles is a great guy. Both, you know, I never got to meet George, but I have Giles, and he's wonderful. So
that's so cool. Yeah,
such a great history.
George is great, and I think just so much of the orchestral stuff in later Beatles things. I mean, like, besides, you know, the sitar, if George wasn't there, I don't think they would have gotten some of that unconventional sound.
They certainly would have voiced it in the way they did and added but the sitar with the strings and all of that stuff is great. I love it. I think, you know, George Harrison was obsessed with the sitar after a trip to India, brought it back and started messing around, and then, you know, and as it's funny because as those albums, as they got later into their career, they sort of started wanting to do a lot of what they watched George do over the years, George Martin. You know, they learned so much from him, I think, and as then they wanted to do and be more involved in the sort of orchestral or textural sides of their music too, which was really great. I don't know, it's just such a good thing. But I think American musicals are some of the greatest things ever written. You know, and it's nice to see them slowly kind of coming back into fashion, even as movies are doing it. You know, I'd like to see more of it. It's nice, but it's great. Were you in theater? Did you do that?
Yeah. Growing up, I was in theater. My high school had a very good like vocal and instrumental program, and our theater program wasn't so great. I played Mrs. Potts once, and my costume was just a cardboard box.
Hey, you can do what you can.
Basically, mostly I did classical singing in choirs and things like that. But I did do theater. But mostly it was just like being raised in theater. I mean, raised on theater and you know, classic musicals, but then also like some of the weirder Sondheim ones as I got older, like, you know.
Like which one?
Well,
because I was in a Sondheim musical. I used to do a lot of that too. I did tons of acting and singing in musicals, both in high school and then later while I was in college as well.
Which Sondheim musical were you in?
I was in Merrily We Roll Along.
Oh my God, I was just listening to that the other day.
And I played Charles Kringus. So Charlie Kringus.
Charles Kringus.
Charlie is the one who sings Charlie sings Franklin Shepherd Inc. and all that and whatever. So yeah, so that was insane to have to do that.
One of my favorite musical theater songs of all time is Opening Doors, where there's
it's so good, isn't it?
At once, and then Jason Alexander plays like the big executive guy,
Yep.
you know, and oh, I love musical theater songs. Like ballads are great and things like that, but I love musical theater songs when like 8,000 things are happening at once and like, you know, people are all singing different words at the same time. And I think Sondheim was really, really good at that.
Amazing at that. Like no one was better. No one was better. I don't know how he tied it all together. I mean, Merrily We Roll Along is one of my favorites of his. It's just such a gorgeous Sunday in the Park with George. I love that too. But Merrily is amazing. But it was a musical that never really succeeded. It never caught on. And they've tried it so many times in so many different ways. You know, the original way, and the way that I was in it too, was you start at the end and you go backwards and it ends at the beginning.
Yeah.
So everything's told backwards. And then they've tried it the other way to see if maybe that would make a difference, but it didn't seem to. So I'm not sure why it never really caught on. I always loved it.
It flopped when it was on, and I
Yeah.
think it was last year I saw it was on Broadway again or off Broadway or something. It was, you know, it was okay, but it was just like a 4-person cast and
someone just typed in the thing, best worst thing.
Yeah.
Which is so good. Yeah.
Exactly.
I saw it in London when they did it, maybe about 6 years ago or something like that, which was great to see it in a real professional setting, you know.
Yeah.
Because when I did it, I was in high school.
Yeah.
So, which is kind of cool that our high school was picking that to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did Anything Goes, which was pretty racist, and I don't do it again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good musical, and Cole Porter was great, but like there's some like very questionable things now. But
yeah, I think they change them now when they're doing them back at high school, and they sort of edit them, I guess, rightly so.
I was supposed to see. I swear to God, the day before they shut down Broadway, I was supposed to see the like gender flipped Company with Katrina Lenk playing Patti LuPone, but I mean, obviously Broadway shut down for a good reason.
Yeah.
Very excited to see that, as I also love that score, and the orchestrations in that are divine, and the orchestrations in Sweeney Todd, same guy.
Now, did you study music? I mean, besides the singing, or?
Yeah. Well, my mom studied classical piano, and my dad was a musician, and they made me play, and they made me take lessons growing up, which I am thankful for. And then in high school, you know, I took AP Music Theory, and then I didn't go to college. It just wasn't for me, and I don't know, it just never happened. So I did study it, I guess. I mean, I do know music theory, and I had wanted to be a music teacher for a long time. But mostly it's just like kind of on my own and stuff like that. And just if you listen to a shit ton of music, you end up learning some things. And
right.
So yes, I am a classically trained singer and play piano, but I wasn't like a music major.
Right. And you said your dad was a musician, and what did he play?
My dad was in a lot of bands growing up. He's good at, you know, like my mom played classical piano and can like see a Chopin piece and play it. But my dad is like, here's Lady Madonna, sit down at the piano and play it, which is something I didn't catch, which is frustrating for me. But he was kind of like a more rock and roll guy. And now he's like retired and it just like has his own studio now and just is writing a song with his brother called Fucko, and it just sounds like Stevie Ray Vaughan blues. Like it's such a dad song. It just sounds like Stevie Ray Vaughan. It's like it's like,
and now you're
so
home in the
dad.
middle of it all.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So when did you start?
I had a question.
Go ahead.
What?
Nope. Go ahead.
No, it was like
Your turn.
About before. I was just gonna ask what your favorite Beatles album was. I was gonna ask your favorite Beatles
which
album.
what?
Your favorite Beatles album.
Beatles. You know, it's crazy. I do love Rubber Soul. I love Revolver. I don't know. Revolver is great. It's so hard. The White Album is great. They each have things on. They each have things on them that I love so much. So if I'm trying to go, which ones? I don't know. Magical Mystery Tour is pretty fucking great. Like that's a pretty perfect album, you know? And the White Album is great. It's big. It's got a lot on it, but I don't know. I love them all. I feel like they are the greatest. My friend and I have this argument going. It's been going for 20 years now. Who the best band is and who the best rock band was, right? And I always said the Beatles, and he always said the Stones, you know. because I'm like, no, but I think we came to a compromise, and I don't still, now that I'm thinking about it, not sure it's the right thing. I might have to revisit this argument, but he said, why don't we just agree that the Beatles were the best pop band and the Stones were the best rock band? And I sort of at first was like, all right, but now that I think about it, I'm like, I don't think so. I think I gotta say, and I like the Stones. I'm good with it. I love the Stones, and they're great.
Rock, undoubtedly, they do rock.
Yes,
but that doesn't mean they're
I'm
the best
thinking,
rock band.
yeah, I know. I'm gonna have to call Steven and tell him, you know, this is my music editor, Stephen Davis, and say, you know what, I think we need to rethink and have this conversation again.
You might need to rethink that chip. You know, just
it always comes up every couple of years. It comes up, and we sort of go at it and figure it out. But yeah, I think might be. But what about of that era, like guys like Neil Diamond? What do you think of? Like, I don't know. I mean, as a songwriter, think about it. Like, I know, like when I think of him, it sounds like, oh, he's really cheesy.
Well, yeah.
But he did write some amazing songs.
Okay, here's the thing. I think I only know one Neil Diamond song, and it might be a little. And I might have some hard feelings because I'm from Massachusetts and I don't like Boston, and I cannot stand Sweet Caroline. Cannot.
Wow. You probably know a lot more of his songs than you think.
What else did he do?
Well, for one, let's see. He did. I want to make sure I get this right, but I think he wrote a lot of the Monkees songs.
Oh, okay. There are some good Monkees songs.
Yeah, so and we can look that up too. But a lot of that stuff. Let's see. Let's go. I bet you there are ones that you love. And I'm gonna quiz you on this right now because I know that they're going to be. Okay, here we go.
Oh, my friend Joe said he wrote "I'm a Believer," and I do know that song.
Yes, "I'm a Believer." Okay, yeah, there you go. "I'm a Believer." That's a great song, right?
He wrote "I Who Have Nothing."
Yeah, "Crackling Rose," "Forever in Blue Jeans," "Song Sung Blue," "Sweet Caroline," which you hate. Let's see, "Hello Again." I don't know. I go back and forth, but I do think he's a solid songwriter. "Love on the Rocks." That one always cracked me up. It was a little melodramatic. "I'm a Believer." Yeah, of course. There it is. Yep. Wait, where is this? Over here. Come on, I got it. Why is it not on my Monkees greatest hits thing? You know?
He wrote the Monkees.
No, he didn't write that. I'm just playing it because it's great. I was looking for "I'm a Believer," but why don't I see it? Oh, there we go. Here we go. Come on.
Yeah, that's a good song. Yeah,
it's the best.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that great? Some of these guys, you know, they write songs you have no idea that what they were doing because they all started out as songwriters and then eventually got their own start there. So, all right, current pop music. What are you into currently?
Like, okay, I love, and by love, I mean, I know that one song, that Billie Eilish song, that, you know, the Bad Guy song.
Yeah, it's great.
I think she's great, and I think it's very cool. And I'm also I'm obsessed with Bond songs, and I have a lot of Bond songs that I love, and I think it's very cool that she'll be doing the Bond song. It's kind of, I don't think she's English, which I feel like Bond singers should be English, but that's just like a personal thing. I mean, but I don't know. But so I think she's going to do a great job with that. And I like Harry Styles a lot from One Direction. I think he is a phenomenal vocalist. Yeah.
Do you listen to, what about St. Vincent? Do you know them?
Oh, if we're talking like, I thought we were talking like top 40s.
No, it could be anything. No, it could be like.
I love Annie Clark. One of my favorite songs of all time is the St. Vincent song. She is so cool.
She's the best.
She's the one who made me, you know, like I see great guitarists my whole life, but when I saw her play guitar, I think that was the thing that made me want to learn the guitar, was when I saw her playing it.
Right.
It's probably just because she looks so cool.
She does look cool when she's playing it. I've been lucky enough to see them play a couple times, and they're amazing. She's just great.
You saw her?
Yeah. Yeah, I try to go to as many music festivals as I can just to stay open to everything and see what people are doing and all of that. So that's always fun, you know. But like I'm trying to think of this.
Can I ask you if you like Tame Impala? Do you know Tame Impala?
I don't know if I know them. I mean, that name is familiar, but it's one I should learn, right? So what song? Like if you were going to pick a song, which one?
The less I know, the better. You should. Just
The less I know, the better. Okay.
I think I mean it's from one of like the best albums, and I think that everyone loves that song, but I think it's for good reason.
Wait a minute. Might I even know it? Let's see. If it sounds like I'm typing on an old typewriter, it is.
I know. I didn't want to make fun of you earlier.
I literally am. That's my key.
I was gonna say like I was like, are you on like a 1998 Mac or something?
Yes.
Like that?
No, this guy on Etsy makes these really cool keyboards. So I like the sound of the old typewriter. So I was like, oh, let's see what that is.
Yeah.
All right. Is this it? Wait a minute. Skip ads. Sorry, YouTube.
They're like kind of sing a song like John Lennon. It's very psychedelic. It's like one of my favorite albums of the decade.
All right, I will get this.
It's a good album. It's one of my favorite albums.
What's the album called? Is it called? Oh, Currents?
Currents.
Got it. All right. I'm getting it.
You got to give it a shot.
I am screenshotting that, so I will get it when I'm off. Definitely. So you started when you have your sort of music Twitter feed that you talk about music on, right?
Yeah, separate one.
Yeah, separate one. And so tell me about the difference between the two. How do you delineate them?
Where I can be less annoying. I think it's just. I think it's just mostly because you were asking me questions. It's mostly because in addition to doing music, like I also like to do comedy, and a lot of people follow me for that. But sometimes I just want to be like, listen to this string line in this, Sondheim song. I guess it's just about maintaining, like, I don't know. It's probably just for like people who want to hear my nerdier thoughts. You follow that account, and people who just want me to like post about my cats and jokes and be like, Beyonce is good. Then you could just follow my regular account, like for like my basic boring music takes that everybody agrees with. It was trying to make it a podcast, but it ended up being too much work for one person to make it like a real podcast. But
yeah, you should. Why not?
I don't like listening to podcasts, so I'm just like, well, I don't care,
Yeah, no, I guess it's true. I mean, I don't know, but it could just be stuff like this where you're just BSing, messing around. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. That's true. It's fun to BS.
Yes, I think it is.
And you had said, so before you had said, we could talk about Vampire Weekend. Do you have Vampire Weekend opinions?
I love Vampire Weekend. They're literally one of my favorite bands on the planet.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I think, especially if we're talking about like newer bands, newish bands, they are absolutely one of my favorite bands around. They're so interesting in terms of what they do to arrange and orchestrate their songs. The lyrics are solid. The melodies are always fun and catchy. And they're just, I don't know, and they're great live. They're really good live.
I bet.
And they're just, I don't know, they could, some bands you go and hear and you love 5, 6, 7 of their songs, but then there's a whole nother 40 minutes of stuff that you're like, all right, it's fine. But I don't feel that way with them. I really love so much of what they do. And I think they're super smart. And I love that they have a big ensemble. There's a bunch of people up on that stage playing, it's not just one person with pre-records, so that's
well, yeah, no, I mean, even in their earlier albums, they had like, for an alternative band of that time, it had like definitely funkier orchestrations and sounds that they had taken from somewhere else. Even like the hip hop artist MIA, they had used like a sample of her song and That Sun, and it's so good. And it's just like, not everybody.
And aren't they from your area?
Yeah, I think they're all from like Columbia. They're all like Cape Cod, or yeah, they're all like Eastern. Yeah, but aren't you from New Jersey?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, I'm from New Jersey, south of you.
Okay.
Yep. But close to Philadelphia, not the New York side, more to Philadelphia.
Okay, all right. I'll pretend I know. If does that mean something? Is that
most people consider New Jersey as part of New York, and it's like everyone in New Jersey is like the Sopranos, you know. And so you're always like you have this impetus to have to sort of explain that you're from the southern part of New Jersey, which is not like that. It's got its whole other issues, but it's not what people always think of when they think of New Jersey, because then they're always, oh, you're from New Jersey, you know, you're like, yeah, that's exactly how I.
Okay. Yeah. I can relate to that, having no personal feeling toward Boston at all, and living very far away from Boston, and people being like, go Red Sox, and I just like don't care.
Wait, so where in Massachusetts?
Western Mass. So it's like right on the border of Connecticut, near like those colleges like UMass and.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm there. So you're from Jersey. So like, do you like, here's an artist that like I never really have gotten into, and I've tried, but Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, no, really. No, oh, interesting.
I feel like connection to him.
Well, I mean, no, not in that Jersey way that everyone seems to. I do think he's quite talented. I think he's an amazing storyteller. I think, you know, one of his best talents is the way he can tell a story with the song. Some people can sing great songs, but they don't really say much. His songs always have a lot to say, and I think of him. It's weird. I think of him almost more of, in some ways, as a poet than I do as a singer, but he's, or as a songwriter, but I think he's really great. I think, you know, in terms of, he always has depth and meaning behind what he's doing, you know. And I'm not saying every song ever has to have that. It's fun sometimes just to have silly songs, but I do admire him for that. I think that's very difficult to do, and to put into your work, you know.
That's true.
Yes, it is. Have you ever written any instrumental music?
I told myself, it's one of those things where like, I feel like maybe I would be good at it because I like a lot of genres, but like, it's one of those things where like, I love music so much that if I sat down and I was just horrible at it, I think it would crush me. But I understand. It's just like the part of you that is just like frustrated for not getting something right away. And so I've tried, and I've used this quarantine time to really try, and I have a couple tunes
which you're going to play for us today.
What?
Which you'll play for everyone today.
God no. I'm like my dad. They're all named like Fucko 1, like blah, 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 2, like, you know, just shit like that. They're just very dumb. But I don't know. I've always been like attracted to this sort of you know, like just sort of weird, and I do like avant-garde music, and so I feel very blessed to have these like tools like Logic to just like, you know, fuck around with sound. And there's something that St. Vincent had said, and then also this other band I really like, Tune Yards, talking about like ugliness in music, and how it's really nice to like feel sort of like that chaos of like something that kind of perks your ears up and doesn't sound nice.
Right.
Stories in film, you know, of course that distracts from the movie itself, but like, you know, for things like, you know, St. Vincent can afford these like harsher sounds or like these like funky weird sounds, and so that's something that I like, you know, playing around with workstations on my computer. It's kind of fun to do that.
It's really fun, and it's great. You know, I think the computer in some ways is the great equalizer. It's good and bad in terms of music, but the ability that anyone could just sit down and do this and try out something and be creative with it, I think that's amazing. It's been fun. I've been watching my son do, I don't know, I'm making beats, and, you know, and so,
that's what it is.
Yeah. So I love watching him do that, and he loves doing it, and he's actually pretty good at it. He does some really great things, and it's really fun to see. But
that's what it is. That's what they're going to call it.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm just like, there it is. I don't know, what is that? And he introduces me to a lot of like rap and different things. He's always bringing up stuff. And actually, it's funny because I'll mention people like Arctic Monkeys or something. He's like, what? How do you know about them? Why? Like as if I have no right to know about anything that came out after 19 whatever. And
That's
so,
how,
but
that's how I, yeah. Some people will be like, how do you know about that song? As if like Spotify doesn't exist. Like I wasn't born then, but like I can Google just like anybody else,
someone just asked, how old is your son? 14 or no 15? Like,
Your
he's
son,
15.
is that all you have? You just have one son?
Nope, I have 3 kids. I have a 22-year-old son, a 20-year-old daughter, and my 15-year-old beat maker.
Beat maker.
Yeah. So, yep.
Are they all into making beats, or is it just the young boy?
The young boy is, and then my oldest son, he's really into composing as well. So he's actually he just scored a film, an animated feature for these guys who work on The Simpsons. They did an independent feature. He did that.
Oh, cool.
He did a couple of things for Netflix. He's so he's just starting out and doing his thing, but he loves it.
What do you work at home? Like you're quarantined now, like are you working now?
Yeah, this is my office, and I have an office out back behind the house, so I can be out here. And I'm not really working on a couple music things. I'm writing my own musical with my friend Elisa Samsel right now. She and I are.
I mean, at some point I was gonna be like, when's the musical coming? Like,
yeah, I am working on something that we're right now we're in sort of just songs day. We're just writing a bunch of songs for it, and so I'm hoping in the next month to have about 4 of them that I'm able to put out online and just say, hey, here's what I'm working on. It's about this, and here's some songs, and just for fun, put it out there. So yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to do one. I've just been so busy doing movies, I just haven't had a chance,
Yeah, of course.
I haven't even had a normal vacation in I can't even tell you how long. Every time I'm about to have a normal vacation that's not revolving around travel for work, it somehow gets canceled because of work.
What was
and
the
then
last vacation you went on?
Like that was just
like a nice one where you didn't have to think about work.
I don't know. I can't tell you because I travel for work and I'll go record in London or wherever and it's always fun and I get to see London and everything, but it's not really a vacation. You're always
right.
It's not, so the last time we were supposed to go on a vacation, that got canceled because Rogue One came about, the Star Wars thing. And then we were going to go on a vacation right before, in the middle of April. What month is this anymore? I don't even know. April. And of course, that went away because of everything. But because of the world falling apart. So yeah, I don't know. But I have my office out here. So what I'm working on now? I'm working on that, the musical. I had 5 movies that I was supposed to work on for next year, but they've all been postponed.
Because of
all the productions have been shut down. So Batman being one of them, and it's just but I did write some music for that already.
Yeah,
so
you previewed that one song.
Yeah, there's that one thing. Yep.
Taking a break on you just are just gonna chill with the Batman, not do so much of the Batman.
Just gotta wait. They gotta finish shooting it. I mean, True. I just did a bunch of things just to start feeling what's it gonna be, what's it gonna feel like, what's it gonna sound like, and then we ended up using one of those pieces in the teaser that we released. So that was really fun, and I know that there's plans to do more of that, but who knows when, and I don't know. Nobody really seems to have an answer as to when everything can get back to normal. There's optimistic, projections, but nobody knows anything. No one knows anything.
No one knows anything.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's my last nerdy-ish question is I'm I love musicals. Are you finding, how does your styling differ does your style or does your process differ when you are writing a song and you're thinking, okay, this is going to be on stage? how, like, you know, how different is the process for you? Or like, what do you make different decisions knowing that this is for the stage?
Yeah, well, I think so. I think that, you know, it is different writing songs that as opposed to scores, you know, and
Oh,
most of what I've done is scores. I have done a few songs for things here and there. I did the song for Ratatouille, and I did, um, I don't know, some things for the Muppets over the years and different, you know. So I've done it, but not intensely. It's not my main thing. So it's really fun to kind of get in there. So for me, writing songs are always a little scarier, you know, because there's like you always want to hit upon something that is memorable, that it has a hook that works, that, you know, and it's just very, I mean, I guess you want to do that with scores too, but it just feels different.
I feel like it was what we were talking about earlier, those great American musicals with songs that you just know for years, you know.
Yeah.
It's like that sort of quality, you know?
And that's the bar that's in my head, so it's an impossible bar to hit, you know. So I guess in the end, what you do is just try to make it fun and try to make it something that you like. You know, ultimately, it needs to be something that you are happy with, you like. You know, if you start making things for other people, it's not that, you know, no one wants that. It never turns out well. But so it's been fun to do, and I'm really excited with the songs we have so far. And it has a real sort of, I would say, punk pop vibe to it. So there's a real fun aspect. So that's been fun to do too, again, because most of what I do is so orchestral. It's not often I get to play in that playground. So it's not, but I used to be in a band years ago. Had a band, and
What did you play?
I played keyboards, and I was the lead singer. And
You sing? Oh, I guess you were in theater. Of course you sing.
I used to sing. I mean, I could, I guess. You know, it's like anything else. If you don't do it enough, I mean, there's really no need for me to sing on my film scores, thank God.
I don't know. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think if I ever have done that for anything. No, I haven't. Once in a while, jump in with the choir to sing something when we're doing a choir date or something like that.
Cool.
But not often. I don't really do that. But I was in a band, and I used to write songs for the band, and we also did tons of covers. So it is fun to kind of get back into that and doing rock stuff again, which is really fun. You know, I love it. You were never in a band?
I was depressed and living in New York City, and
like everyone.
Yeah, no, but I was like, it was bad, and I was missing music, and I had joined like a very professional choir, and it just like wasn't hitting it for me. I had just like sort of come out of really intense professional choirs, and this one was good, and we were singing some really cool Icelandic songs, but I was still really depressed, and so I went on Craigslist one day and searched Beatles cover band and ended up joining this like Beatles cover band.
Oh my God.
Random guys, and we wouldn't even play for concerts. We would just pretty much like get some studio time, and I would sing and they would play their instruments, and we would just kind of talk about how much we love the Beatles and try to just basically recreate, you know, the Beatles songs like note by note and you know, part by part and things like that. So I've always really wanted to be in a band, but all I ever got was just like choirs and then that Beatles cover band.
Do you have that book, that the Beatles scores? The one with...
Yes, and not only do I have that book, but I think that is just like a very formative part of my life. Like my dad got that book growing up. For those who don't know, it's basically a book of every single Beatles song, but with all the parts. So like even for the benefit of Mr. Kite, you know, like you can see the organ part and things like that. And I think that was like a huge reason why I got into like really liking, like listening to parts of, you know, I played piano and been a musician growing up, but like appreciating little parts of songs 100% came from that book, because it was just like, holy crap, it's all right here. Like I can see all of the things, you can see all of it, which is, you know, so just seeing a full score is something else.
Do you sight read?
Yes.
When you're singing? Yeah, that's hard. Yeah. That's really hard to do.
I had a lot of practice growing up.
Yeah, no, I imagine that's a difficult thing to do for anyone. I'm always, you know, amazed too with the players I get to work with, that you just sit down and anything you put in front of them, they just play it. Just like, okay, I'll play it. Nothing, no big deal. I'll just play it. You know, thousands of notes running all over the place, especially on some of these action cues and stuff. They're just like, yeah, okay, just do it.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's pretty cool. But I mean, of course, like I've gotten rustier as you do when you don't have practice, but you know.
Yeah.
But you know, music is like riding a bike. You know, you did it once. If you practice again, you could probably do
Yes,
it.
I know. I've been trying to get back into playing drums. I'm pointing over here because my drums are right there. But, you know, I'm a terrible drummer who would like to be a mediocre drummer. If I could reach the level of mediocre, I would be thrilled. I'd be happy, you know, just because it's so fun to sit down with a drum set and play. And I do enjoy that. But, you know, until this all happened, I really didn't have the time to put into it. So now I started taking drum lessons with one of my percussionists in the orchestra. His name is Don Williams. He's the brother of John Williams, and
I was gonna joke, but he really is.
Yeah, he is. That's his brother. Yeah, and so Don's an amazing timpani player. He's a great drummer, a great percussion, plays anything, and just one of the coolest people on the planet. But so he and I have been doing we're doing these Zoom drum lessons. And yeah, someone just said, Don Williams? Yes, Don Williams. I'm kind of half looking at the comments as they come up. Yeah. But was he featured in my View talk? Yeah, I think I showed a video of him playing the timpanis for The Incredibles. This crazy thing.
Oh, wow. Oh, he played on that score? Oh, that's cool.
He's played on everything I've ever done that was recorded here in LA, which was, I say, out of my scores, probably 95% of them have been recorded here in LA. Oh. So, and when we do, so when I go to London, that's different. There's different orchestras over there and all of that. So, yeah, so I've been doing that, trying to get mediocre at drums.
Good for you. Drums are hard and it's tough. I did always want to play the drums, but when I was living in New York, it's tough with an apartment, but you know, just like it's a lot. I love watching drummers. I think I just have ultimate respect for drummers, but I just don't think I would do it. Have you ever played the video game Rock Band?
Yes, I have.
I would play once a month with my friends. We would all just like get drunk or just drink beer and then play Rock Band. And I just like couldn't even do the drum. It just like hurt too much.
Well, it's too much thinking. You're constantly
so much thinking.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot. It is hard. I know. And he had me doing things the other day where I was just like, really? Okay. But if you slow it down, if you do it very slow, you can actually do it. And it's just about being patient. So much of it is just patience, and having the patience to just try those things over and over at a very slow tempo and ramp it up. So yeah. I'm just reminded myself now that I have to practice.
Yeah, I think that was like, when I used to take piano lessons, practicing, there was some sort of satisfaction in like getting a really hard piece and then like being bad at it so that you could watch yourself be good at it, even though it was frustrating. There is like a very rewarding part of practicing, but it does suck and I do hate doing it, but it's nice sometimes.
It is nice. It's always good. Now you can get an electric drum set so you don't have to annoy your parents.
Oh, really?
Yeah, now they have these great electric ones. Yeah. Just put on your headphones. You have no reason not to be a great drummer, Grace. Damn it. Yes, add that to your list.
Great. Okay, good. I'll do a podcast about how I suck at drumming. My other question is, so one of my New Year's resolutions here, which I have not done, I did one day of it, was I wanted to learn how to conduct. And you had replied to one of my tweets saying that like you had conducted the Nutcracker, I think, which is my favorite piece of music ever written. Yeah. Do you learn how to, did you teach yourself how, and then you conducted once.
Well, let's put it this way. If a really seasoned conductor would have seen me do that, he would say, that's not conducting, But because we did a Christmas concert at the Albert Hall in London this year, and it was a blast. It was really fun. It was really stupid and crazy and all this stuff. And Kermit the Frog was there as a guest, and we had, it was just really fun. I don't know if you know Grace Potter, who she is. She's an amazing singer. Grace was there. She sang. So it was a bunch of things like that. And then, but one part of it, these jugglers came out, and they were juggling all this stuff, and we put together a piece of music which was a combination of the Nutcracker and Up, Married Life. And
okay, I can see that.
And it starts off with Up, and then it goes into it starts off with the Nutcracker and goes into Married Life and then goes back to Nutcracker.
Remember which Nutcracker movement?
Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies, I believe. I gotta check. It's such a blur. But I remember, like, I've never conducted that kind of a thing before. And I was like, all right, well, let's just try it. I'm always like, sure, I'll try it. What's the worst that could happen? You know, we screw up the show. Why not? So I tried it, but it was so fun to do. It is so fun to conduct. What I realized, it's so fun to conduct music that's not mine, because I can just have more fun with it. You know, I can just have fun doing it. With mine, is I feel like there's too much thinking and all of that, and it still can be very fun depending on the piece. And certain pieces I like conducting more than others. But like, I love doing lost concerts. Those are really fun.
Yeah, that was my question. Was, so you say when you conduct your own pieces, you're overthinking it. When you were doing the lost concert, which I wish I would have seen, were you like thinking? Were you in that sort of like like overthinking mode while you were doing that?
No, Lost is a little more fun. It's a little more relaxed. The pieces aren't, well, some of them are intense, but not as many. And it's much more of almost like an exercise in meditation when you're doing that show. And what gets tricky sometimes is when you're doing things to picture, you know. So it's fine. You can conduct a piece of music if there's nothing on screen. It doesn't matter, because you can kind of go whatever tempo you want. But when you're to picture, you have to make sure everything hits the right way. And so there are streamers. There's usually a screen in front of you with streamers telling you when certain bars are hitting. So you can see that bar coming up. So if you're going too slow, you have to speed up with the orchestra. So hopefully they're following you and they're responding. But it's always a challenge, but it's a fun challenge, you know. But doing it to picture is a very different thing than just kind of free, you know, doing it with nothing. That's not a problem. The to picture, I've never conducted an entire, like, we do these live to picture. We'll do Star Trek or any, you know, one of these movies where you play the whole movie and the orchestra plays along with the film and they do the whole thing. I don't do that. That's way too intense.
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather just go.
I saw the New York Philharmonic do that with There Will Be Blood.
Yeah.
And it's fucking nuts, but it seems so hard.
It is hard. And I don't feel like there's so much, you know, and I don't have the time to really rehearse that and do all of that. So, so usually I work with other conductors on those things. But when I'm doing concerts, that I'll do. And then in the concert, we occasionally have things to picture and stuff like that. That's fine with me. But the other thing is way too much work.
Yeah, it's like a lot of work. Yeah, no.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how are you wanted to learn conducting? So did you?
Where did my book go? I think it had like a Conductors for Dummies book that I've had in my house since I was a kid. I think it was called like The Armchair Conductor or whatever. No, but what I did do is I learned one pattern, which is just like a 4 count.
Right.
And so now I'll just kind of do it like to myself. But so I just know 4/4 time, but that's it. But I don't know. It's like I should just, like, it seems like out of all of the hobbies to do, it's
all you need is a mirror. All you need is a mirror and an iPod, and you're good, or your phone, just whatever.
There's no excuse, really.
Yes, just do it. Now, before we run out of time, I do want to talk to you about the Music Man thing, and what made you do that? How long did it take you to do that? And because I did watch the outtakes as too, that was funny. You know, so how much ended up on the cutting room floor? And was it just you pressing go on the phone, like in a room by yourself? No one was handing you the things or anything? No.
And this is going to make me look very, so I had always known it pretty well growing up because I had just liked it. And then about 2 years ago, I was like, I'm going to just memorize it for fun. And so I did. And I think I like broke up the little sections into, like, I put them on, you know, Logic, and broke them up into sections so I could practice it part by part, you know, especially like the bang, beat, bell, ring, a big hall, great go, neck or nothing. That was really hard. So I had to like have just a small MP3 of that and play it over and over. And that was about 2 years ago. And I had this idea where like, I wanted to do all the guys at once, but like, how would I do it? Oh, I'll just have like little hats. And so what I did was so I finally memorized it without props. I just, you know, I had like been driving back and forth to my grandma's to drop off things and spent a lot of that time in the car just memorizing it. And so then once I had like a poster board up where each character had a different color, and had a
Right.
different prop assigned to him. And on the back of the prop, I painted it. God, this makes me sound so insane when I'm saying it out loud. I painted it a different color. Basically, what it was is I practiced it for days until it became muscle memory. And I had directions like, okay, put pink up here, turn this, take this left, have this with your left hand, have this with your right hand. And I would practice it in the mirror so many times that when it was time to record, my hands would just like be muscle memory and know where to go.
Right. It was crazy. It was, and when you did it all the way through, you're like, that's it, I got it.
I think I like I let down like a sigh of relief and just like.
So you didn't do 2 of them all the way through. You just, once you got it, and you were like, done.
Once I got it, and I was done. And I was just like, wow, it kind of sucks that I just ruined that song for me for the rest of my life, and they'll never enjoy it again because I had to listen to it. But it was worth it in the end, and I think. But yeah.
But your parents must have been happy knowing that things that they introduced you to when you were growing up, you're sticking with.
And a lot of people were like, my dad's gonna love this. Like, I can't wait to show this to my grandma. And I also am like, have a Steely Dan like fan account, and everyone's like, I feel like, like my Music Man video was like for the grandmas, and then I have like a Steely Dan fan like funny account, and that's like for the dads,
Right.
So I just like, it's like I'm appealing to everybody.
You have tons of followers. Like, how did all of that sort of come about? Just kind of grew and grew.
Well, like I had said before, it's kind of like a weird thing. I didn't go to college. I had been like vlogging since when I was like very young, and sort of grew a following from like the very early days of Tumblr, and sort of took that following from, LiveJournal to then Tumblr, then to Twitter. And then I was working at Build-A-Bear at the mall, living in my parents' basement, and a writer from BuzzFeed had said to me, we like what you're writing. Do you want to come move to New York and, write for BuzzFeed? And obviously I was, living in my parents' basement. And so I was like,
so you said no.
So I was just like, no, I love it here.
I'm fine.
So I did that. And then worked there for like 4 years and wrote and did some humor writing, and then worked in advertising a bit. And then like 300 of us got laid off. I got laid off, which was kind of a blessing. And then recently I've started to do some work on, and that's how I got my, my followers through that. And then I started to work on TV, and now I've been doing stuff with the Tonight Show and a music show that's coming out. That's a spin-off of the Tonight Show. It's like you know how the Tonight Show has like those music games where like Ariana Grande does like impressions of different singers.
Yeah. Those are awesome.
It's a whole game show of just music games. So I worked on that, and it got postponed, but that's why.
It'll come back. By the way, she's an amazing singer and an amazing like impressionist. She can, what she does in terms of like, I always love it when she's on Saturday Night Live. It's hilarious.
Well, to be a good impressionist, that's my thing, is that like, to be a good impression is just all about knowing pitches, because voices are just different pitches. So I feel like anyone who's good at impressions is a good singer, or like can carry a tune.
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, that's just cool. That's how I mean, if someone does good impressions, then I just look at them and I'm like, you're a good singer. You don't even know it yet, but you're good at singing.
Right.
It's like, in the scene in The Music Man where like the barbershop guys are talking and they're like, why are you doing this? Get up. And he's like, what is this I hear? You say ice cream, ice cream, ice cream. Like, that's me.
I love that. That's fantastic. It says we have 1 minute and 30 seconds left before they cut us off. They only let you go an hour on, and then it goes out. So what do you have to say in a minute and 23 seconds?
I never have anything to say. No,
that's all right.
I don't.
Frank Caliendo is the best vocalist.
Who knows what that? I do have a lot of friends who are on here who like your Lost score, big Lost fans, and that's how I was introduced to you. Lost is huge. I love, like, there was one scene in Lost where, like, I know they're at the others camp, but like there are these horns that are like, and like I just remember being like younger and being like, what is that? It was just one horn line, and they're in the bushes, and they're the thing, and it's just, and I was just like, that's so cool.
Lost was great because it was an ability, it had the ability to go ahead and play in the sort of atonal playground that I loved. When I was at I'll try and make this really quick so you have 30 seconds. When I was at Juilliard for a bit, they really they didn't like anything that had melody everything you had to do had to be some sort of weird thing, you know? And I just wanted to do melody. I wanted to do melody. So I finally got into score, started doing melodies. But then when I got lost, I was like, oh, now I can do all that stuff that they wanted me to do that I didn't want to do. And I have had a blast doing it. So we have 8 seconds. I just want to say it was awesome talking with you.
Yes, thank you.
And we'll find a time to do it again.
I would love that.